On the rooftop of a glass skyscraper in downtown Seattle, a helicopter sat waiting. CEO Khloe Kensington paced in her tailored black suit, phone pressed to her ear, voice sharp with urgency. She needed to fly now. A multi-million-dollar contract depended on it. Two assistants scrambled beside her, calling every backup pilot in the city. All unavailable. Then a man in a gray janitor's uniform stepped forward, mop still in hand. "I can fly it," he said quietly. The assistants burst into laughter. Khloe looked him up and down, then smirked coldly. "Fly this helicopter, and I'll marry you." None of them knew they just mocked one of the finest military pilots America had ever trained. Khloe Kensington was 29 and already running Kensington Aerospace, a mid-sized aviation company her late father had built from nothing. She'd inherited his office, his board, and his reputation for being ruthless. Everyone feared her, and she preferred it that way. Years ago, she'd been engaged to a man named Derek. When her father died and she became CEO, Derek left. Said he couldn't handle being Mr. Kensington. The betrayal hardened her. She stopped trusting people. She stopped believing in love. Her company was on the verge of landing a historic deal with Skytech, worth 8 figures. But Skytech's executives were old school. They wanted face-to-face meetings. Khloe had scheduled the final signing across the city. The helicopter was her solution to Seattle's notorious traffic. Everything had been planned perfectly until the pilot called from the hospital with a broken wrist. Liam Walker was 32, though most people at Kensington Aerospace barely noticed him. He worked the late shift, mopping floors, wiping down windows, emptying trash bins. He wore the same gray uniform every day, kept his head down, and never made small talk. People assumed he was just another guy trying to get by. What they didn't know was that Liam had once been Captain Liam Walker, United States Army helicopter pilot with 2 tours overseas and a chest full of commendations. He'd flown Black Hawks in combat zones, evacuated wounded soldiers under fire, and earned a reputation as one of the most precise pilots in his unit. But that life ended 3 years ago when his wife, Sarah, died in a car accident. She'd been 8 months pregnant. Liam had been overseas when it happened. He came home to an empty house and a 5-month-old son named Finn, born premature and fighting for his life. Liam left the military after that. He couldn't fly anymore. Every time he sat in a cockpit, he saw Sarah's face. So he walked away. He took the first job he could find that didn't require questions. Kensington Aerospace hired him as a janitor. Nobody cared. Nobody looked twice. That's exactly what he wanted. Finn was 5 now, small for his age, with his mother's blonde hair and Liam's quiet demeanor. He didn't talk much, but he loved airplanes. He carried a little notebook everywhere filled with crayon drawings of helicopters and jets. Sometimes Liam brought him to the office after hours. Finn would sit in the hallway drawing while Liam worked. The day of the Skytech signing arrived like a ticking bomb. At 8:45, Khloe's phone rang. The pilot had been in a car accident. He couldn't fly. Khloe's stomach dropped. Her assistant made 15 calls in 10 minutes. Every charter service in Seattle was booked or couldn't mobilize in time. Khloe stood on the rooftop, staring at the helicopter. It was right there, fueled, ready, useless. That's when Liam stepped out of the stairwell. He walked toward them slowly, carrying a bucket and a mop. Then he stopped a few feet away and spoke, his voice calm and even. "I can fly it." The words hung in the air. Then her assistant Marianne laughed. Loud, condescending, meant to humiliate. "You serious? What? You think this is a video game?" Liam didn't react. He just stood there, hands at his sides, waiting. Khloe turned to look at him fully. She took in the janitor's uniform. The quiet posture, the complete lack of bravado. She didn't believe him. Not for a second, but she was desperate. She stepped closer, folding her arms, and looked him in the eye. "You're telling me you can fly a Bell 407 helicopter?" Liam nodded once. "Yes, ma'am." She studied his face. There was no fear there. No doubt. Just calm. She made a reckless decision. She smiled cold and sharp. "Fly this helicopter and I'll marry you." Liam's expression didn't change. He just nodded again, set down his mop, and walked toward the helicopter. He climbed into the pilot seat, fastened the harness, and placed his hands on the controls like he'd done it 1,000 times before. The helicopter's engine roared to life. The rotor blades began to spin, cutting to the morning air with a deep rhythmic thrum. Khloe climbed into the passenger seat. Liam's voice came through, clear and professional. Ready? Her heart pounded. Let's go. The helicopter lifted off smoothly, rising above the skyscraper with a kind of precision that only came from years of experience. Liam flew like a ghost. No wasted movements. No hesitation. He banked left over Elliott Bay, threading between air traffic with the confidence of someone who'd done this in far more dangerous skies. Khloe couldn't take her eyes off him. His hands moved over controls with quiet elegance. This wasn't luck. This was mastery. She tried to speak, but her voice caught. Finally, she managed. Where did you learn to fly? Liam didn't look at her. I used to do this for a living. The flight took 12 minutes. Liam set the helicopter down on the Skytech landing pad with a feather-light touch. He powered down the engine and stepped out without a word. Khloe sat gripping the armrests, trembling, not from fear, from shock. From the realization that she'd just been flown across the city by a janitor who handled a multi-million-dollar aircraft like it was second nature. She unbuckled slowly, climbed out, and turned back. Who are you? Liam's expression softened just slightly. Someone who used to matter, he said quietly. The meeting went perfectly. She signed the contract. But when she stepped back outside an hour later, the helicopter was gone. And so was Liam. That evening, Khloe sat alone in her office and pulled up the employee database. Liam Walker, hired 8 months ago. Position, janitorial staff. No prior employment listed. No references. It was a kind of file from someone who didn't want to be noticed. She made a call to an old friend who worked in military records. Her friend called back 2 hours later. Liam Walker, Captain, U.S. Army, helicopter pilot. 2 tours decorated. Honorable discharge 3 years ago. Khloe's hand tightened around the phone. Why did he leave? There was a pause. His wife died. Car accident. He had a newborn son. He walked away from everything. Her friend hesitated. He's got a Medal of Valor. Pulled 6 guys out of a hot zone under enemy fire. The guy's a legitimate hero. Khloe hung up. For a long time, she just sat there. A hero, a father, a man who'd lost everything and chosen to disappear. And she'd mocked him. Over the next few days, Khloe began to notice things. She saw Liam in hallways, moving quietly between floors. She saw him in the break room at midnight, while Finn slept on a bench nearby, clutching his notebook. She saw the way Liam adjusted Finn's blanket, without waking him. The way he whispered, "I've got you, buddy," even though Finn was fast asleep. One evening, Khloe stayed late deliberately. At 10:50, Liam walked to with Finn on his shoulders, the boy half asleep. Khloe stood up. "Liam." He stopped, turning slowly. "Miss Kensington." She hesitated. "I never thanked you for flight." Liam shrugged, "Just doing what needed to be done." Khloe took a breath. "I know who you are. What you were." Liam's jaw tightened. For the first time, she saw something flicker in his eyes. Not anger, resignation. "Then you know I'm not that person anymore." Khloe nodded slowly. "Maybe, but you're still someone." Finn stirred on Liam's shoulders. Liam gently lowered him to the ground. Khloe crouched down. "Hi, Finn." The boy blinked at her. "You're the lady from the office." Khloe smiled. "I hear you like airplanes." Finn's face brightened. He pulled his notebook from his backpack and showed her a drawing. A helicopter, surprisingly detailed, with rotors and stick figures inside. "This is my dad," Finn said. "He's the best pilot in the world." Khloe's throat tightened. She glanced up at Liam, who was looking away. "I believe you," she said softly. The next morning, she called Liam into her office. "I want to offer you something." She explained that Skydeck wanted a consultant to help design their new pilot training simulators. Someone with real-world experience. It's a 6-month contract. Good pay, flexible hours. You could do it from home. Liam stared at her. Why are you doing this? Khloe met his gaze. Because you're wasted mopping floors. Liam was quiet for a long time. Then he shook his head. I appreciate it. But no. Khloe blinked. Why not? Liam's voice was firm, but not unkind. Because I don't need to be noticed. I don't need a title. I just need Finn to be safe and happy. That's it. As Liam turned to leave, she said one more thing. You know, you don't have to disappear to protect him. You can be both. A father and a pilot. Liam paused at the door. He didn't respond. He just walked out. Late one night, Khloe found herself wandering the empty floors. She ended up near the old simulation bay and heard a sound. Soft, broken. Crying. She followed it and found Finn sitting on the floor, knees pulled to his chest, tears streaming down his face. Khloe's heart clenched. She knelt beside him. Finn, what's wrong? Finn hiccuped. He's inside. He said he needed a minute. Khloe looked through the glass window. Liam was sitting in one of the flight rigs, head in his hands, shoulders shaking. Finn's voice was small. He had a bad dream about Mommy. Khloe sat down beside Finn and wrapped an arm around him. I know, sweetheart. The door opened and Liam stepped out. His eyes were red, but his face was composed. He saw Khloe and froze. I'm sorry. I didn't know anyone was here. Khloe stood, gently guiding Finn toward his father. It's okay. Liam picked up Finn, holding him close. He looked at Khloe, and for the first time she saw something raw in his eyes. Vulnerability. Pain. I used to be in control, he said quietly. I used to know exactly what to do. Now I don't know anything. Khloe's voice was soft. You're doing fine, Liam. He shook his head. I'm barely holding it together. Khloe stepped closer. You flew across the city to save my deal. You're raising a beautiful kid. You're holding it together better than most people ever could. Liam's voice cracked. I lost control once in Afghanistan. My co-pilot got hit. I had to choose between landing and saving him or finishing the mission. I chose the mission. He lived, but barely. I got a medal. He got a wheelchair. I've been second-guessing every decision since. Khloe felt tears sting her eyes. He looked away. I left the military because I couldn't trust myself anymore. Then Sarah died, and I couldn't even protect her. So I disappeared. Because if I'm nobody, I can't fail anyone. Khloe's heart broke. She reached out and touched his arm. You're not nobody, and you haven't failed anyone. Liam met her eyes, and for a moment, the walls between them crumbled. Khloe spoke again, her voice trembling. I was engaged once, but the day I became CO, he left. Said he couldn't handle being second. So I decided I'd never be second again. I'd never let anyone close enough to hurt me. She paused. But I think I've been failing too, just in a different way. They stood there in the dim hallway, two broken people holding their pieces together with sheer will. Khloe looked at Finn, then back at Liam. You said you used to fly for your country. What if you flew for yourself? What if you let yourself be great again? Liam's voice was barely a whisper. I don't know if I can. Khloe smiled just a little. Then maybe I can help you remember. Skytech sent another offer directly to Liam. They wanted him to perform a live flight demonstration at their annual summit. In exchange, they'd fund a full scholarship for Finn at one of the best private schools in Seattle. Liam wanted to say no, but then he thought about Finn, about the opportunities his son could have. He showed the email to Khloe. What do you want to do? Liam's voice was uncertain. I don't know. Khloe leaned forward. This isn't about the contract. It's about you, about Finn, about stepping back into the light. Liam was quiet. Then he said, what if I'm not ready? Khloe's voice was gentle. You flew me across the city without flinching. You're ready. Liam looked at her. Trust, hope, fear, all at once. Will you be there? Khloe nodded. Every second. Liam took a breath. Okay, I'll do it. The day of the demonstration arrived. Hundreds of people filled the hangar and viewing stands. Khloe stood near the flight line wearing a headset, acting as Liam's ground support. Liam stood by the helicopter, dressed in a borrowed flight suit, looking calm. Finn was beside him, wearing tiny aviator sunglasses, grinning. "You're gonna be awesome, Dad." Liam knelt down. "You think so?" Finn nodded. "You're the best pilot in the world. Remember?" Liam's throat tightened. He kissed his son's forehead, then walked toward the helicopter. Khloe's voice came through his headset. "Ready?" Liam climbed into the cockpit. "Ready." The engine roared to life. The crowd went silent. Liam lifted off smoothly, rising into the clear blue sky. He performed precision turns, hovering holds, altitude changes, all executed with flawless control. The crowd watched in awe. Finn stood on the sidelines, jumping up and down, waving both arms. "That's my dad. That's my dad." Khloe felt tears stream down her face. She didn't bother wiping them away. When Liam landed, the entire crowd erupted in applause. Finn ran to him, leaping into his arms. Liam held his son tight, and for the first time in 3 years, he smiled. Really smiled. One afternoon, Finn brought home a school assignment. Write about your hero. Finn's essay was 3 pages long in big wobbly letters. "My hero is my dad, but my other hero is Miss Khloe. She helped my dad remember he's a pilot, and she makes him smile." Liam read it, sitting at their small kitchen table. He folded the paper carefully and put it in his wallet. That weekend, Khloe went to the rooftop. When she arrived, she found Liam there cleaning the helicopter. She smiled. Old habits. Liam looked up, grinning. "Something like that." Khloe walked over. "You know, I never actually meant what I said that day. About marrying you." Liam set down his rag. "I know." Khloe's voice softened. "But what if I meant it now?" Liam froze. He looked at her, really looked at her, and saw everything she wasn't saying. The hope, the fear, the love. He stepped closer. "Are you sure?" Khloe nodded. "I've never been more sure of anything." The sun was setting over Seattle, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. On the rooftop beside the helicopter that had started it all, Liam Walker knelt down on one knee. In his hand was a simple silver ring engraved with 2 small wings. "I used to fly for my country," he said, his voice steady. "But now I want to fly for 2 people. You and Finn. If you'll have me." Khloe's vision blurred with tears. "Yes." Liam slipped the ring onto her finger, then stood and pulled her into his arms. Finn, who had been hiding behind a ventilation unit with a bouquet of flowers, ran out shouting, "Does this mean she's staying forever?" Khloe laughed through her tears. "Forever." Finn cheered. "Dad, you did it." They boarded the helicopter together, all 3 of them. Liam in the pilot seat, Khloe beside him, Finn in the back clutching his notebook. The engine hummed to life. The rotor spun. And as the helicopter lifted off into the golden Seattle sky, Khloe looked at Liam and thought about how far they'd come. From a cruel joke on a rooftop to a family taking flight together. Liam glanced over at her and smiled. "Where to?" Khloe smiled back. "Anywhere, as long as we're together." Below them, the city sprawled out like a promise. Above them, the sky stretched infinite and free. And for the first time in both their lives, they weren't running from the past. They were flying toward the future.